Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai Bashem Dash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered among the heathen nations that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson. And just in light of different things that I saw in the news and a couple different videos, you know, things that are going on, like you got bad times that are upon America and upon the world. You know, here in America, they have millions of pigs that they're putting to death, that they're stabbing, millions of chickens. You know, millions of gallons of milk just spilled to the ground, and cows to be slaughtered, and not slaughtered for meat, but to be put to death simply because of the bottleneck, as it was said by a farmer. The bottleneck that has been created by the COVID situation. You also have the truckers that are on the verge of striking, and the trucking industry is in turmoil because of the small loads and the lack of loads for the independents and for the big business or bigger companies. And it's all leading up to martial law and world war as the contention between Ammon, or not Ammon, but Moab and Esau, you know, China and America, that contention grows greatly as the finger pointing over this whole COVID hoax, because it is a hoax, you know, as far as the way that it's spreading and where it really spread, and you know, this is all just a power move for an agenda, and everyone knows that. But the powers that be have established themselves, so it's kind of hard to go against them when you have no power against them, when they completely rule over your life and control your finances and everything. So without any further ado, we're going to let this video play, and then we're going to put some scriptures to you know, I'll stop every now and then just to bring in the scripture, because it's pretty much going to be self-explanatory.
Hello there, I'm Manila Chan. You're watching In Question, broadcasting from RT America's news headquarters here in Washington, D.C. We want to welcome our viewers from across the nation and all around the world watching us on satellite, streaming, and our brand new app, Portable TV. Here are your top stories today. It is like deja vu all over again. The U.S. and China at odds over the so-called origins of the coronavirus. President Trump ramping up his rhetoric, claiming there's significant evidence it came from a lab in Wuhan. And while the war of words continues, there's a rallying cry from a number of countries asking for an independent investigation into China's response to the pandemic. And last but not least, nationwide, protesters have taken to the streets in major cities with lockdown measures due to the pandemic. Their rallying cries demanding governors reopen their states. All right, it's time to boost your news IQ. The Trump administration is ramping up its rhetoric against China, claiming a lab in Wuhan may be responsible for the worldwide spread of the coronavirus. Meantime, a new DHS report claims China intentionally hid the severity of this virus. RT's Rachel Blevins is joining us from the newsroom with more to this. Rachel, what more can you tell us?
Well, Manila, the Trump administration is now doubling down on the claim that the novel coronavirus originated from a lab in Wuhan, China. During a Sunday talk show interview, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said he is confident the U.S. intelligence community will come to the same conclusion.
All right, so let's stop it right there. He's confident. Of course, they're going to come to the same conclusion. Not because it's true, just because they're going to decide that it's so. But this is Matthew 24, and I'm going to start at verse 6, and it reads, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right. I'll go ahead and read verse 9. And they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And that right there particularly is speaking of the men of the Lord, who we've been given this warning way before RT. All right, a lot of things that they report on. That's how you know that it says that the secrets were given unto the prophets, man, because the things that are being reported in the news, the prophets have been reporting this on YouTube since 2007, and I mean the prophets of the men of the great millstone, and the offshoots that teach the likewise doctrine. All right, another quick one. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, 50 and 36, and it reads, "A sword is upon the liars, and they shall be dote. A sword is upon the mighty men, and they shall be dismayed." So he is about to go down, and because their shame is being spewed on their glory. They've been found out to be liars, and it's not looking good for them. As a matter of fact, I got another quick video that I need to click to, which is right in line with what she just said about America blaming it on China, and that and Mike Pompeo said he was certain that the U.S. intelligence community would come to the same conclusion that he has. So let's see what China had to say about that. Yeah, there it is. Once Upon a Virus is the name of this video.
December.
Strange pneumonia cases reported.
Roger that.
January.
We discovered a new virus.
So what?
It's dangerous.
It's only a flu.
Wear a mask.
Don't wear a mask.
Stay at home.
It's violating human rights.
Building temporary hospitals.
It's a concentration camp.
Built in 10 days.
Show off.
Time to lock down.
How barbaric.
February.
It's overwhelming our medical system.
Look how backward China is.
The virus is killing doctors.
Typical third world.
It's airborne.
It'll magically go away in April.
Everyone stay at home.
Violation of human rights.
March.
Our numbers are now dropping.
Impossible. Look at Italy.
We wore masks.
You lied to us.
We made our data public.
You kept everything secret.
Your people are now dying.
You didn't warn us.
We said it was dangerous.
You lied.
April.
We said it was airborne.
You gave false data. Why didn't you warn us?
We said it was dangerous.
The virus is not dangerous, but millions of Chinese are dead. Even though the virus is not dangerous, we are correct. Even though we contradict ourselves.
Gosh, just listen to yourself.
That's right. You lied. We did nothing for 3 months. And because the WHO agrees with China, we're cutting funding for the WHO.
Are you listening to yourselves?
We are always correct, even though we contradict ourselves.
That's what I love best about you Americans. Your consistency.
Consistent liars, man, and believers in pseudoscience. Let's go back. That actually is quite comical. I rather enjoyed that because it's absolutely 144% true. That transfer of information and dialogue that went back and forth between them. But nevertheless, all this is being done for an agenda anyway. So, but let's go back.
Remember, China has a history of infecting the world, and they have a history of running substandard laboratories. These are not the first times that we've had a world exposed to viruses as a result of failures in a Chinese lab. And so while the intelligence community continues to do its work, they should continue to do that and verify so that we are certain. I can tell you that there is a significant amount of evidence that this came from that laboratory in Wuhan.
Pompeo went on to say he believes the spread of the virus was the result of an accident in the lab, not a deliberate act. When asked about reports of the lab in question received $7.4 million in funding from the U.S. to study the coronavirus in bats under the direction of Dr. Anthony Fauci, Pompeo claimed that this is a normal practice meant to protect Americans. And he went on to say, quote, "The United States for a long time and continuing today tries to help countries around the world who are conducting research on highly contagious pathogens. We do this not only in China, but we try to bring our expertise to precisely prevent something like this." However, Pompeo did not explain how he believes the virus could come from a lab that was already receiving aid from Washington. In response to the claims, an editorial in China's Global Times accused the U.S. of engaging in unprecedented propaganda warfare. It argued that since Pompeo said his claims are supported by enormous evidence, then he should present that evidence to the world and especially to the American public.
Which is something that American often does. All the time. And most Americans eat it up. They always say things, but never produce the evidence to prove or back it up. They always put labels upon people or individuals, countries, or whatever, but they never give the evidence to back up what they're saying. You know, this is Revelation 2:2, and it reads, "I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how they canst not bear them which are evil. Thou hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and hast found them to be liars." So that's someone who is sent, man. And I tell you who's to be found liars is the information that's sent through Esau Edom, man. All right, they're found to be liars, man. Right along with these false prophets in a lot of these other camps and within Christianity. You know, the things that they're saying doesn't match up with the scriptures. The things that they're speaking of is not matching up with prophecy. Not at all.
Now, the comments from the Trump administration come as the Department of Homeland Security issues a new report in which it claims China is guilty of covering up the danger of the coronavirus. The DHS is accusing China of downplaying the severity of the virus in early January with the goal of stocking up on medical supplies before the rest of the world knew about the threat.
Now, there was a report, there's a report that's circulating on record. The Israelis spoke about this virus in November. The Chinese weren't even aware of this virus until December 31st. So that's 30 plus days that the Israeli intelligence and the American intelligence knew about the virus. It hadn't even hit yet. Things that make you go,
The report claims they did this by delaying transport data to cover up the fact that they decreased exports of medical supplies. Meanwhile, the U.S. confirmed it has deployed 4 B-1B Lancer bombers and 200 airmen to Guam as part of a new bomber task force. While they say the units will be used for strategic deterrence to missions to reinforce the rules-based international order in the region, concerns remain about how those missions will impact already heightened tensions in the South China Sea. The latest increased tensions between the U.S. and China sent global stocks falling on Monday as the world waits to see what the next move will be in the...
See, that's that yo-yo. The stocks went falling as soon as these two started getting into it. Why? Because all this happened right at the time that China was about to surpass America in wealth and power. China was about to become the most powerful nation on the planet. And all of a sudden, America and China's economy is destroyed at the same time with a race to see who can rebuild first. And I believe that attack, I can't prove it, but I do believe with everything that I am, that this thing was initiated by America because they were ready to do anything to prevent China from surpassing them. All right, and this was also to cover up the crash of the dollar and the crash of the American economy, because the American economy was about to crash and they could not let the American economy crash on its own. They needed something to blame it on to cover it up, and this is it.
War of words over the coronavirus pandemic. Reporting in the newsroom, Rachel Blevins, RT.
And EU boss Ursula von der Leyen this weekend not only called for an investigation into the origins of the deadly coronavirus, but also called on China to work with the EU on this investigation. Meanwhile, today, the EU is launching their joint effort to raise money to fight the pandemic.
Indeed, in just 10 days, on the 4th of May, we will launch a global pledging effort. On that day, we will also announce next milestones of a global campaign. This campaign is to kick off an ongoing rolling replenishment because beating coronavirus will require sustained actions on many fronts. We need to develop a vaccine.
That vaccine is what's going to infect a lot of people, mark my words. Because they're already foretelling that, they're giving a forecast of how they're going to be double the infection rates come this fall. All right, how do they know that? Because all these people that are being tested and getting the vaccination, they're going to have it for real. All right, and they're going to infect everyone else because this COVID-19 is a flu, but it's a different strain of the flu, and it's definitely a man-made thing. All right, that's for sure. There's a patent on it. So right now they're hyping up the numbers and falsifying them. But they've got everyone so terrified. People are going to, and I look and I see people riding in their own car with a mask on. In their own, or sitting on their own porch in their own yard. No one around them. I looked out the window and saw a lady walking her dog, and she's the only one on the street on the block. There's nobody outside at all. She's walking a dog and she's got a mask on. All right, so they've got everyone so afraid people are going to run to get this this shot, and then that's when it's really going to spread. Think of the movie I Am Legend. In the beginning of the movie, when she talked about how her vaccination cured cancer, and they gave 10,000 shots, and then they asked her, well, how many people did cancer come back, and she said none. And then the next thing you know, this other thing broke out. This is but 1 Timothy 6:20. And it reads, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, and avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. All right. So this pseudoscience, false science that they try to push, because most of the things that they do, they can manipulate. They can manipulate things. Most of this science is done, especially when it comes to computers. They have algorithms, and the algorithms can be adjusted to give them the results that they want to. Just like you had those Israeli scientists some years back that came out and admitted that DNA can be manipulated. It can be falsified. With the craze over the DNA testing thing, and in the story where you had the three identical twin women submitted their DNA and all their DNA came back different, but yet they were identical twins, all from the same mother, same father. All right, 3 triplets.
Joining us for more on this, we'll go to former UK MP George Galloway. George, first, can you address Ursula von der Leyen's campaign for this joint measure in raising funds to fight the pandemic? Is this the best way, or do member states need to address these specific needs of their own country?
Well, allow me, please, a brief laugh at the idea of Mike Pompeo talking about the rules-based international order when no one has done more to trample underfoot every rule that has been broken over the last few years than his administration, from Venezuela to Iran and everywhere else around the world. I favor individual states controlling their fundraising and expenditure for reasons of transparency and accountability. I'm not much in favour of pouring hundreds of millions of pounds, dollars into an EU supranational and untransparent, unaccountable bureaucracy. But clearly there has to be an investigation into the origin of the coronavirus. It could, of course, have come from the US-funded laboratory in Wuhan, but Cambridge University already identified the original source of the breakout of the virus many hundreds of miles to the south of Wuhan.
Wow.
And we now have evidence from France today that the epidemic actually was present in France in December. So it's not even entirely clear that this virus began in...
See, did you just hear that? All those nations were in opposition to America. All right, this is Habakkuk 2 and 8. And it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood, and for violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So people are just sick and tired of the West, man, of America, of Esau, Edom here in America. The other Edomites, the Edomites that are in Europe and around the world, hate these proud Edomites here in America.
In China, something I've been saying right from the beginning. We need to identify where it came from, but much more importantly and urgently now, we need to investigate why our government...
And I do truly believe that this is how all the nations shall hate the whore. This is it. This was the final blow, ruining their economies. All the things, because I thought a lot of things that would happen already. Just being in the spirit and being in the truth. We saw the aggravation and the build up to this, going back 10 years ago. But, quantitative easing from the time of the collapse, and, who saw that coming, that they would do that many times. But nevertheless, the nations are angry, man. They're angry, and you can clearly see it. What they're starting to do is, as soon as the West comes out with the lie, professionals and people from the other nations come with the counter information and arguments, and that never used to be so.
Yours and mine have been such a disastrous failure in tackling the virus when it arrived, even though we had 2 months to prepare for it.
And George, how do you feel about her calls to launch this joint investigation into the origins? Would it be done fairly? Can it be done fairly? Or do you think this could spark new division across the world?
Yep.
For sure, and it's very hard to see how it can be independent when the United States government has already tried China and found it guilty and is now considering the punishment. So how you could get an independent inquiry, I really don't know. But China has, to the contrary of what is being claimed, been absolutely transparent and, far from stocking up on medical supplies, has been flying them free gratis all over the world, including to the United States of America. This is a big hoax, Manila, and it's a look over their hoax to divert attention from the disastrous failures of our own governments, especially in an election year as you are.
And there you go, from the disastrous failures of their own governments. And America was collapsing. The UK was collapsing. They were divided. America was in the midst of the what were they calling it, the retail apocalypse and all, and all these other problems and issues that they were having. They couldn't pay the pensions. They have troubles with the Social Security. There's not enough people working versus the people drawing off Social Security. America was done, and this COVID became. They had to run with this one. They had to run with this one. I think they would have waited a little bit longer for something more convincing, but the urgency of their situation made them act. All right, so this is going to be the last scripture. This is Habakkuk. Also in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, starting verse 15. Woe unto them that giveth his neighbor drink, and putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look upon his nakedness. So, the power here in power in America has filled people with lies and made them drunk in them. and taking advantage of the people, and now the people are angry. And it's quite shameful and embarrassing. It said, "Thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. And the cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory." And it is shameful spewing upon your glory. You're embarrassed and ashamed, and the right hand of the Lord is upon you. That's why you're seeing all these, what they're calling aerial phenomenons or UFOs. Those are the chariots of Israel, and they're coming to do damage here in Babylon. Call Halal Yahweh Bashanah Bashai by Shimra Kakwadash Wa Abba Babal. Shalom.